Hello everybody, I am Fuzzy Face. Welcome back to another round of this Motorsport Manager career. We're back with our Audi team, Project Audi, as I like to call it. We've got the Russian Grand Prix coming up this time. We're heading to the Black Sea. It's the only time we'll be visiting Russia this season. Last time we had it in the game twice. For some reason I forgot to take it out on my database. It has been removed for this season, so we are actually down to 16 races this season instead of the 17 we did last year. We've just got this quite quick Russian course. It takes about a minute to get round. Last year's pole was a 1:01.5. As we've seen this year, there's not much improvement through the qualifying times, even though the cars have improved. Meanwhile, we'll get into Fuzzy's notebook here. We'll go down the new updates, or the lack of updates there is. The only team to put a new part in their car is the Haas team. The American team have put a new gearbox in their car. It is quite a significant upgrade. The gearbox now puts in 4th overall. As we've seen this season, Haas they've had the worst rated car on the grid. They have now leaped from 12th to 10th. That gearbox going in the car, we do know they have a pretty strong Renault engine in that car as well. So now that they've got a strong engine and a strong gearbox, we might see them perform here in Russia, although the gearbox is not crucial, but the engine is crucial here. So maybe Haas will get themselves out of the doldrums a little bit here. Meanwhile, we're still working on that engine. It's not going to be ready for this race. It will be ready for the next race in Portugal at Tondela. Hopefully it's going to be another big increase. Hopefully we can get somewhere close to that almighty Renault engine. But we've got a new sponsor here. Obviously we're not going to take Infinity, that's a Renault sponsor. We could take all them, but we might as well go with the one that's going to give us a tiny little bit more. It's only £150,000 more, but we'll go with Qualcomm. We'll just stick it on the car. It's not much money. Sponsors don't mean much in this game. We're pretty healthy bank wise. Maybe with the HQ as well, we might get building a new test track. You see, one of the only things we don't have other than putting a road car factory in there to maybe even the budget out, but it's our first HQ build. We might as well get going and get it done. So yeah, so there's not much to go over before the start of the race. We do have this new vote though, which is replacing Yokohama track A with track B. I'm not too bothered. We're just going to abstain. We'll just skip to the end of the vote, and it's been voted for. So we're going from, we are on track A at the moment. It will swap to track B next season. So where is it here? Currently it's got the loop in track B. We're taking out a lot of the loop, slowing it down instead of it being a long like left-hander around there. I think we go this way around this track, do we? No, yeah, it's that way. We go around this track, and it's adding in a little chicane there instead. Yeah, so not too bothered. We do need to save up the votes for the end of the season because I don't want this vote to take effect, the rolling start. I want to try and vote that down because we don't want a rolling start here in this series. I'm already not liking the Q3 as it's going at the moment, but we'll just go with it. We'll go with direct supply. It gives us the same as our Audi sponsorship for 4 or above. It's not much money. We'll take a few extra. It looks like it's going to be raining during qualifying here. It's not always accurate, this weather report, so hopefully it's not going to be raining. We saw what happened in the first race of the season when it was raining, but anyway, we'll skip over practice and we'll get back to see if it is indeed raining for qualifying, and we'll take things from there. So practice is over. We seem pretty quick, although there was rain in the session which throws everyone's times out, so we can't really take into account what practice accounts for. It is raining here heading into qualifying. It looks like it's going to ease off for the end of the session, so that is going to be okay. We're not going to do any running until the end of the session. Because of the rain, we didn't quite get the soft tyres to the point where we wanted to be. We didn't get the 15% performance increase, mainly concentrating on the hard tyre bonus because I think that's what we're going to spend the majority of the race on. It will be a 2-stop race here. We're not even going to come out early on in the session here. We're just going to let the rain go by. Everyone else is going to be coming out on inters. We're not even going to set a time on the inters. I don't think it's going to rain towards the end of the session. We're going to take that risk. There's no point because this whatever time is set on these inters is going to be a pretty slow time compared to what will be done on a fresh pair of softs here, which is the softest compound of the weekend. Charles Leclerc is quickest after the first run. There's going to be no rubber on the track for the first run here. Maybe we should have had a run to get our drivers a little bit more acquainted with the track here. It sometimes seems to work out if you do let them run early on in qualifying and you send them out. They do. It's not always though, is it? I guess it's down to do with the weather conditions, and we know the weather conditions are going to be a lot better off, so we might as well get Gasly out here. We're not quick enough to go on a slower compound tyre to save, even like in Q2 if you wanted to do that. We're not quick enough to do that. We're going to get Vettel out of the pits now as well, as currently the quickest car on track is Yuri Vips in an AlphaTauri. I'm hoping that everyone else is going to come back out for a second run. They are. Sometimes the AI doesn't come back out for a second run if they think they're high enough up after the first lap, even though it is a slow lap on the rain. And we just get into Q2 there with Vettel 11th. Gasly is currently 13th. So last year's pole here was a 101.5 set by Charles Leclerc. We actually qualified last year in 12th and 14th. But as you see, we're about a 10th down over last year's time. We're about half a 10th down over last year's time. Our quickest time here last season was a 102.5. But anyway, in Q1 we've had Esteban Ocon go out in an Aston Martin. I don't think there's any other big scalps, although we got Hulkenberg and a Williams. Bottas in the Alpha. I think he had a decent qualifying session last time. Haas hasn't improved much with Joseph Newgarden and Magnussen out as well with their new and improved gearbox. It hasn't seen them escape Q1 here, and Lance Stroll is out in an Aston Martin as well. So let's jump straight into Q2 here. Hopefully, no, there's rain as well. Rain again. Is that just early on? No, we've got rain for most of the session here. So what we want to do, I'm guessing we want to come out. We don't want to get out too early here, do we? Although the AI is coming out. Should we just follow the AI? The weather's going to get a little bit worse towards the end of the session. Just so we don't have an advantage over the AI, we'll just have to get out at sort of the same time as them. Although we still might even hit this patch in the middle where the rain sort of slightly eases off. But we might see some scalps here, as we usually do in the rain. There might be a few cars a little bit out of it, as we see George Russell has done a run on a pair of soft tyres, as has Alexander Albon. Their times are just 8 seconds slower than the current pole sitter. Well, not pole sitter, after the first run in Q2. The two Renaults are at the top here. Perez and Ricciardo pretty quick here. It looks like Renault might have things figured out this season. We're going to have to get Gasly out again, aren't we? That rain's going to ease off right at the end of the session, so we'll get out as late as we can. Vettel is right on the cusp here. Don't want to get out just yet though. Vettel is right on the cusp. Gasly's pretty much there as well. If Gasly can improve a little bit, the rain is a little bit heavier possibly than the first run that we did. We're going to get a nice fresh pair of Inters on here. Hopefully we can get a car into Q3 here. Latifi's pretty quick though with a 1:03. Latifi currently through to Q1. Vettel is going quickest here. I'm guessing that the rain's just sort of eased off, hasn't it, right at the end of the session. So we actually go quickest, and as we saw, the Renaults after the first run were looking pretty promising. I don't know whether they came out again, but Ricciardo and Perez are both out. We've got Mercedes out. We've got a Red Bull out of Alexander Albon, and Carlos Sainz in the McLaren finds himself eliminated as well. So did the Renaults actually do another run then? I'm guessing they did. Did they? Yeah, they must have done. The Ferraris came pretty close as well to being eliminated in the end there. But anyway, we've got both cars into Q3, and it looks like Q3 is going to be dry here, other than the end of the session. So we're going to get out. We might be able to get 2 runs in here if we're sneaky about it, although I don't like taking this sort of advantage. But yeah, Gasly's out on track a lot earlier than the other cars. He's just out on track by himself. Vettel is out in a little bit of traffic. It is a really quick lap here, about a minute, around just over a minute. It is a 57 lap race. Last season Charles Leclerc won the race. Hamilton and Verstappen in the 2 Mercedes were second and third, although Hamilton is in a Ferrari this year. But we're going to get a decent idea of everyone is after this first lap. We're a little bit further down. We might as well get back out. Go straight for another one here. Let's be a little bit cheeky, get Gasly out. And let's get Vettel out. Because some of the middle order cars might run in this time, although I don't think we're going to get around before the rain starts again. If this happens though, Yuri Vips and an AlphaTauri is going to start on the front row of the grid here. So we're a little bit quicker. We just get in before the rain starts. Vettel gets up to 5th. Gasly is in 9th. We've got Williams in the top 10. We've got a Alfa Romeo of Mick Schumacher in the top 10. And it looks like the 2 Ferraris are on the second row of the grid. We've got a couple of cars coming out to end the session. Although it is raining now, I wouldn't think we're going to see anyone go quicker. Although last time out, who was it that went quicker in the rain? It was Alonso, wasn't it? He came out, I think it was Alonso, he came out right at the end of the session. It was raining, but he still managed to improve his time over his first time around. Although it doesn't look like anyone has managed to do that. But Alonso has another pole position. He's had some dreadful starts this season. He's been qualifying really well in that Red Bull, which is the strongest car. He's just not been able to put it together once the race has got underway. So it was a dry Q3, so we're not going to be able to just sort of pick any tyre that we want. We've got to stick with the used soft. Oh no, we're on a fresh pair. I'm guessing that is because one of the session was rainy, but I do want to take the hard tyre bonus because that is what we're going to spend a lot of the race on. Although since we're not starting on a used pair, I think we're going to be able to go soft and then onto the hards and then back to a pair of softs or two softs and then back. So yeah, we might as well actually take now. We might as well take the soft bonus. Could have an increase on the tyres, but we don't need that. We have pretty quick pit stops anyway. We'll get to pushing. Is it pretty cool? It's a little bit hot, so few tyre wear is going to be a little bit of an issue. It doesn't like it's going to be any rain in the race, but here we go with the grid. It's Fernando Alonso on the front row in the Red Bull, and then another Honda car on the front row of the grid with him. Yuri Vips all the way up there in second place. Charles Leclerc is third, followed by his teammate Lewis Hamilton. Sebastian Vettel is fifth. Lando Norris in the McLaren is sixth, followed by Mick Schumacher in Alfa Romeo. Max Verstappen in a Mercedes is eighth. Pierre Gasly is ninth, followed by Nicholas Latifi 10th. Mercedes just not up to it this season at the moment. They've dropped off a little bit, but then anyway, we've got Sainz in 11th, Ricciardo 12th in the Renault, Albon 13th, 14th is George Russell in that second Mercedes, Perez is 15th, Ocon in Aston Martin is 16th, Magnussen in a Williams is 17th, 18th in a Prema is Giovinazzi, a Haas of Joseph Newgarden is 19th, Stroll in Aston Martin 20th, Schwartzman in a Prema 21st, Hulkenberg in a Williams 22nd, and on the back row of the grid we've got Bottas in an Alfa and Tsunoda in an Alfa Tauri. Just a long way off. Obviously he couldn't get out of Q1. I'm sorry, just like his teammate Yuri Vips did, managing to scrape through mainly due to the Renaults not getting through into Q3. But Vettel had a decent start, but then he's sort of dropped off a little bit. And who is that in front of him? That's six. That is Leclerc. Schumacher all around him. He's got a McLaren putting him under pressure at the moment. That is Lando Norris alongside him. Gasly's got off the line pretty decently. I think we're going to switch things up. We're going to get up into overtake mode. Vettel hasn't made the outstanding start that he did last time around, but he does manage to get past Mick Schumacher in the Prema there as we come to the end of lap 1, although it looks like that Ferrari engine was going to bite back at him. Tsunoda sets the quickest lap of the race as Gasly manages to get past Mick Schumacher as well, as we are off to a really good start to this race as we've got that group of cars ahead of us. Vips has been overtaken by Hamilton, who's had a really good start. Leclerc is just about there as well. He's looking to get past Yuri Vips here. We'll see how far that AlphaTauri falls back down the order. Verstappen's got off the line pretty well as everyone queues up, goes 3 wide with the AlphaTauri, and we get held up a little bit behind. Gasly gets a run on his teammate, gets the run on Yuri Vips as well, as Vettel gets a run on the Mercedes and the AlphaTauri as well. Both cars getting past there. We're just absolutely flying in the car this season. I'm guessing the other cars have sort of turned down when we haven't. I mean, we do have a lot of tyre wear to go, don't we? We're not that pushed for tyre wear during this race because it is a pretty easy 2-stop. We know we're going for that as we're putting Charles Leclerc under a hell of a lot of pressure here. We get round the outside as Vettel looks like he's got the run on Hamilton. No, he doesn't. He loses out to his former teammate Leclerc as well as he tried to get the run on Hamilton. Couldn't quite put it together. Verstappen, meanwhile, has managed to get back past Pierre Gasly here. Gasly is having a wondrous season this season, taking over that second seat from Stoffel Van Dorn, who took over that seat last season from Pascal Wehrlein. But entering lap 5 of this race now, it looks like Gasly is going to get past Max Verstappen here. Makes that pass. Are we going to be able to hold on to it? The tyres are getting a little bit overheated. We might have to give up this position to the Mercedes. Although, should we just have an early pit stop because we know we can get another 28 laps. We can go for any of these tyres. We would want to get back on to another soft tyre. So we do sort of have to start looking after this tyre a little bit, don't we? We want to look after it with Vettel. Vettel is under pressure for him. His teammate is still latching on to the back of these Ferraris as Alonso has stormed off into the distance. He's got a 3-second gap over the first 6 laps of this race. He's just flying away with it. Alonso's not had the best start to the season. He's been qualifying really well. but not being able to put it together in the race here. And it looks like Gasly has lost out to Verstappen, but managed to get him back down the pit straight. But it looks like it's going to be a battle for quite a while here, as Juri Vips, whilst we're all battling away, has managed to hold on here. He's still up there in 7th place. He has lost out from his 2nd place, but he is challenging whilst we all just fight away with each other. Just sort of being held up probably because Vettel is recovering those tyres, but he's managed to hold on into 4th place whilst we were recovering. Just recovering as well with Pierre Gasly. We'll just try to cool down with that as well. What is it? I think the temperature is going to stay even for the race. No rain forecast as of yet. I don't think it's going to rain during this race like it did in practice and qualifying. It looks like it's going to be a fully dry session here in Russia as we just speed up a little bit and go through a few more laps as we just try and recover everything here. It looks like Pierre Gasly's getting down there as well. We might as well just switch with him. We're getting away from that AlphaTauri, but we're losing ground to Max Verstappen in front. But Vettel, a comfortable 4th place here. We've got 2 Ferraris and a Red Bull in front of us. I don't think we're going to be able to catch them by the race end. Those cars, whilst not massively better than ours, they are better than ours. As I said before, the way everyone upgraded last season, pretty much all the teams just sort of converged together, and that gap from the bottom to the top just sort of shrunk, which means that we do get some odd races. Like in the last race, we were a lot better than we have been, or we are in this race. Vips and an Alfa Romeo are doing pretty well in this race as well. It does throw up some rather interesting situations, and it's why the Renaults just can't, even though they've got like one of the better cars, they just can't storm back through the field if they get out of position. It is quite hard to move yourself back up through the field if you find yourself out of the running order. But as it is, we come across, there's 46 laps remaining. We're on lap 12. We're still ahead of Max Verstappen. It is Alonso, 2 Ferraris of Hamilton and Leclerc. Then we've got Vettel, Verstappen, Gasly, Vips still up there, Sainz, Schumacher, and Norris just gets past. Although we've got Vips coming in pretty early. He's gone through that soft tyre to try and keep that position pretty rapidly. But he does show us that we've got a nice gap there. There is a nice gap if we come out of the pit, so maybe we should take that opportunity, because we're currently being chased by the 2 McLarens at the moment, so maybe we're going to get in. We know there's a little bit of a gap. There is a lot of the field in front though. We don't want to come too close. There is a little bit of risk with the pit stop. We've got our air crew still in at the moment. The bonus that they give us, the times that they give us, is worth a little bit of risk. As you see, it's a sub 2 second pit stop, so we're actually going to come out behind Vips here. And that the undercut just worked for Juri Vips there. Vips is on a soft tyre, so he's absolutely flying at the moment. He's actually caught up to the back of the running order at the moment, so there isn't that much of a gap. We're going to get Gasly pushing. We do need about 15 laps on this tyre to get back onto a hard tyre to finish this race on. We don't really want to go through this tyre too much. The soft tyre does run to 10% before it drops off, so we've still got a little bit of time. Or should we? We're going to be coming out in a lot of traffic no matter what we do. Alonso has already pitted for his soft tyre. Could we try and get somewhere close to these in front? We will be coming out 13th after this pit stop. If we can get out into about a second gap, would that work out for us? We do know we have to come into the pits pretty soon, so let's go for it. Let's try an undercut here. Let's be a little bit risky. Hopefully we're not going to have a mistake with the pit stop. We know Gasly is sort of flying at the moment. We'll try to fight our way back through these cars. He's managed to get onto the back of Max Verstappen here, but we can't push these tyres too much here. Although we can stay in high mode. Although we did have a mistake with the tyres. Unfortunately, Vettel though. So he's back out, and he's back out behind Gasly. That undercut just absolutely worked massively for Pierre Gasly. I think he was out on track for about 2 laps longer, although he is trying to cool down now, and Vettel is the one pushing, so Vettel's going to get track position back, and he managed to get past the Haas of Kevin Magnussen pretty easily as well, just pushing everything all out here for a few laps with Sebastian Vettel, trying to get back up the order. We've fallen behind Verstappen, who is just ahead of us, and we're going to get back past Verstappen as well, and that is the Haas of Joseph Newgarden as well. We've got Lance Stroll in front of us, so Vettel is putting it together now, although these tyres are now overheated. We're going to have to cool down pretty rapidly. We've used a lot of fuel with Sebastian Vettel as well. So it didn't work out. We haven't really lost any positions because we've managed to work our way back through the field. We're just in a little position at the moment, as that is Gasly finally getting past Joseph Newgarden. He is still on the back of Max Verstappen, although there is an Aston Martin between us. But we've got fresher tyres than the Aston Martin. Is on a used pair of mediums. We fly past him. We might as well. We don't fly past him. A little bit of trouble getting past him there. We'll try get onto the back of Max Verstappen here again, as Vettel is in front. He's cooling down. We're going to get him pushing again, just to see if he can clear that traffic in front before Max Verstappen gets on the back of him, although we do that. And then Pierre Gasly goes flying past Max Verstappen. Absolutely amazing. We are pretty close in performance to Mercedes. That Mercedes car is better than ours, but there is not a lot of gap between that Mercedes and back to us in 8th place. Oh, who was that? That's a horrible lockup from Pierre Gasly. Just shredded that soft tyre. Try to get past this traffic as well. We just maybe want to cool down with him for a few laps. We don't want him to lose that tyre, although we do want him to get past this traffic at the moment. That is Sergio Perez in front. Perez on a hard tyre. That hard tyre looking pretty slow here, and it's George Russell who has yet to make a pit stop as well. So if we can get Pierre Gasly past here, and then we can get him cooling down for a little bit, try to conserve on these tyres so he can still do that one stop. And Vettel just goes through George Russell there. Albon is in for his first pit stop again, so we move back up to where we should be in this race, which is 4th and 5th at the moment. Absolutely outstanding. We've managed to get away from Max Verstappen as well, who is currently on a hard tyre, which is why he's dropping back at the moment. We are switching on to a hard tyre at the end of the race. It looks like that hard tyre is pretty slow around this track though. As we've seen, we just managed to get away from Max. Hopefully we can get far enough away from him when we decide to go onto a hard tyre, and Vettel is currently running too high here, so we're going to just recover some fuel whilst we've got the chance, as Perez makes his first pit stop of the race in that Renault. He's going to find himself a long way down the order here. Perez is going to come out of the pits pretty much near the back of the field. Will he get out into 21st place for Sergio Perez? Daniel Ricciardo in the other Renault is currently 18th. As we take a little break for a little drink. We're just cooling tyres down perfectly here. About 5 more laps would be the optimal range. We're going to get a lot more than that out of this soft tyre. So we want to open up once again once we get back into sort of the optimal range. We want to sort of open back up again with the tyres, as we're going to do with Gasly. Vettel's still got a little while to go as well, and try to pull out a little bit of a gap over Max Verstappen, because he's going to be going on to a softer tyre to end this race on. Meanwhile, Alonso does have a massive lead of 11 seconds over the 2 Ferraris. Hamilton is currently leading his teammate by about 6 seconds. Leclerc's come out onto a harder compound tyre, which is why he's possibly losing a little bit of time. He's about 7/10 slower than his teammate. But this will be Red Bull's first win of the season, I believe. If things stayed as they were, we would still be on top in the Constructors' Championship. Ferrari would close the gap up, and Red Bull not closing the gap up though that much, because we're still picking up 22 points here if we can finish 4th and 5th. Obviously we do know the AI sometimes not the best at getting to the end of the race. We might even be able to pick up a Ferrari, scalp a Ferrari on the last few laps of the race. We do know they do like, if they're a little way behind, they do like to push super hard to try and catch up, and we're just now cooled down nicely. The AI does like to push super hard to catch up, as Alonso, mate. Is Alonso doing a 3-stop here? Alonso is doing a 3-stop. Obviously, he thinks he's far enough ahead to do... Is he just going to go another... Is he going 4 soft tyres, Alonso, for this race? Obviously, he thinks he's quick enough on those soft tyres to put in an extra pit stop. Obviously, he's done 2 already and he's still in 3rd place. If we came into the pits now, where would we be? Obviously, because Gasly's getting to the point where he would need to stop for this hard tyre. He's going to be 13th with no mistakes in the pit stop. Does it say he'd be battling Ricciardo if he did that? Yeah, he's going to be battling Daniel Ricciardo in front. So maybe if we get pushing and we can get to a point where we get out in front of Ricciardo, there is a nice 3-second gap in between those 2 cars. Although I do want another lap out of this tyre. There it is. There it is. So Gasly is going to come around. He's going to get onto this hard tyre, which can go down to 0% before it actually just totally bottoms out and goes flat. So we do have some room to push on the hard tyre a little bit, although not much room. So if we can get out, I'm guessing a lot of those cars are going to pit as well, so it might just work out for us. No, is that Ricciardo going through? Are we a little bit further back than it said we were going to be? We are, but we've got a nice little gap to Nico Hülkenberg in front. There's a nice gap there, and we're going to get Vettel pushed. I think we can get another lap out of this time, but as we saw last time out, we don't want that gap to open up too much, because Gasly did have a massive undercut, although he is on a harder tyre this time around. He's not on the softest tyre compound. There's no chance of getting onto that. 29 laps we can get from this hard tyre, hopefully. Although a lot of it wasn't to do with a massive undercut, although some of it was. A lot of it was to do with a mistake on Vettel's pit stop. Hopefully that's not going to happen this time around. But here we go. Alonso is already on to Charles Leclerc here, so we're into the pits with Sebastian Vettel. It is a nice pit stop this time, a 1.9, and out in front of Gasly and out into that nice bit of clear air there. So things worked out pretty perfectly from that pit stop. We come out 11th and 12th. Everyone in front of us does have to pit again. Even Fernando Alonso has already done his 2 stops. We're in pretty early, and we're just gonna keep pushing for a little bit. We can push with Gasly as well. We'll push these hard tyres. Do not pick up temperature too well, so it should be alright just pushing, and then running in medium to finish this race on. We'll just keep trundling along. I don't think we're going to get anywhere near the Ferraris that are in front of us. Hamilton's gone to a soft 23 laps to go. He's 3 stopping as well, is Lewis Hamilton. The AI just going mad for those soft tyres. I know they seem super quick around this track. Whether they're quick enough to do a 3 pit stop race, obviously they feel they've got the gap that they need to do that, as we're now back up into the points, as we've seen Albon and Sainz pits. Albon's not done too badly here, although he will be 3 stopping, as will Carlos Sainz. A lot of these AI cars preferring the 3 stop strategy this time around. We can keep pushing in high mode there. We'll just look after this tyre. We do need to make sure that this hard can get through to the end of the race. I don't think we've got any trouble doing that. As more cars come into the pits, we've got Daniel Ricciardo and a Williams of Nico Hülkenberg in front of us. Once we get into the back of those, we might just push again for a little bit, and we close up pretty quick as we come down the pit straight. We're on fresher rubber than them, but can we get past a car of Danny Rick, who is on a used hard? We can. We fly past Daniel Ricciardo, and we'll wait till we get on to the back of that of the Williams in front. Meanwhile, Albon and Verstappen have got past us. They are on soft tyres though, so they do need to pit again. I don't think they've got the pace in those cars to pick a 20-second gap over us to get into the pits. Maybe if they do pick up a 10-second gap, and then a 10-second gap with the next set of fresher rubber on, I don't even think that's going to be possible either here in Russia. So I'm thinking we're still on for our 4th and 5th place finish here, as we're getting under pressure here. Albon has managed to get past Sebastian Vettel as well. That soft tyre is just super quick around this Russian track, as Hülkenberg peels off into the pits as we come under pressure from Max Verstappen, who is on that softer pair of rubber. We're not going to battle him because he is on a strategy that will see him stop again. Just whether he's actually quick enough to pull out a gap to get in and out of the pits is a question. Meanwhile, we're just recovering fuel at the moment. We've got a Renault of Daniel Ricciardo behind us. He does have to pit as Charles Leclerc sets the quickest lap of the race. He's 2 stopping, but he's not in a position. He's in a position to get past his teammate though, although Hamilton will possibly be on another set of soft tyres that will see him super quick towards the end of the race, as will Fernando Alonso. He's going to come out into 2nd place ahead of Leclerc, and then Hamilton will pit. So it does look like this is going to be Alonso's race, unless we get something that closes up the field like a safety car, or Alonso would get a free pit stop at that point. But I don't think there is. It's a pretty easy track. This Russian track is pretty much straight. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Don't really count that. 5, 6. 6 corners really. It is a quick track. Not the hardest for these drivers, so I don't think we're going to see any crashes, but we're going to see cars start to peel into the pit. So we move 6th and 7th. And Verstappen, He does need to pit again. He's not going to get 14 laps out of the tyre. Albon does. They're not opening up at a big enough gap to trouble us, and we're not getting close to that. But Alonso has come into pits. He's gone on to a medium tyre. He does have a nice gap over Charles Leclerc. Hamilton, though, I don't think Hamilton's going to be able to pull away. It looks like Alonso's going to be quicker on that medium tyre. And it looks like the Mercedes is just going to be happy to lose time. I'd get into the pits and get onto a new pair of softs. If I were them, if they have a new pair of softs. He's just losing time at the moment, is Lewis Hamilton. I don't think the AI is just going to be thinking ahead like that. The AI is just happy with losing time. I'm guessing they're happy with Hamilton maybe getting second or third. Just to play it safe. Daniel Ricciardo sets the quickest lap of the race on a fresh pair of softs. He's not near enough us to trouble us though. But there we go. Who was that into the pits that time? Someone else just came into the pits and guessed it. Was it Albon? Albon's pitted for that pair of mediums. He's pretty close though, is Albon. There is 11 laps left in this race. If Albon's going to just totally go for it and push. I mean, we've just recovered the fuel now. We can get to pushing a little bit more. And we just need to hold off Alexander Albon here if we want to keep our 4th and 5th place effectively, because Verstappen does need to pit. Hamilton has made his pit stop as well. He's going to get out just in front of his teammate. Holds up Charles Leclerc on the pit exit. But there we go. Verstappen has pitted as well. He's behind Alexander Albon. Lando Norris now goes quickest from 13th place. He's currently behind his teammate. They're nowhere near really getting into the points. So Renault is going to score one solitary point this weekend, it looks like, unless Ricciardo can close up to Esteban Ocon in that Aston Martin. That Aston Martin that went out in Q1 has not done too badly during this race. Mick Schumacher will be picking up a few points as well. They're his first points of the season in that Alfa Romeo. Obviously, in this game, Mick is the long-term replacement at Ferrari. And that might just come when Lewis does decide to retire. If he does decide to retire, how long has Lewis got left in him? Will Lewis want to maybe head back to McLaren at some point? McLaren are on an upward trend at the moment. Obviously, Sainz and Norris, there's not going to be much movement with those drivers, but you never know. Someone might poach Sainz, or someone might even see the potential in Norris, maybe. Who would there be? Red Bull, if Albon. I mean, Red Bull, though, would realistically maybe go with Vips or Tsunoda in that second seat. But meanwhile, we're just coasting around in 4th and 5th. It doesn't like Albon has the pace here. He's only a couple of tenths quicker than us, so we just want to watch this tyre as well, though, because we've still got a few laps to do. We should be able to see it through to the end there. And we can push the fuel with Gasly, though. Oh, the engine feels down on power. 28%. We've absolutely shot through this engine during this race weekend, but 4 laps remaining. We should be able to see it through. We've actually used quite a lot of tyre with Pierre Gasly. Who is that? That is Albon. That has now closed up. He does want to pit. We know they can get through to the end of the race. So 16%. Right, we're at 15. We'll just count here whether we're going to get to the end. How much do we use over a lap here? About 2%. Yeah, we're going to see it through to the end of the race. A pit stop would see us come out into 12th place outside the point. So we might just have to concede this place to Alexander Albon. There's nothing we can go ahead and do about that. I don't think we have to worry too much about Albon catching Sebastian Vettel though. And we'll just switch back up to medium here. We're about to get into the final lap. Maybe if we can just... We had a little bit more of the tyre left than I thought we might have, but here we go. We might as well push for the last lap. I don't think we've been able to hold off Alexander Albon. But Vettel finishes 4th place there. Absolutely outstanding race. Gasly is 6th. Alonso does go ahead and win the race for Red Bull. Then we've got the 2 Ferraris in 2nd and 3rd. Verstappen got himself up into 7th place. Schumacher in Alfa Romeo, a good finish for him in 8th place. Esteban Ocon in the Aston Martin. It's a strong car, but they're underperforming. This season, Ocon does get up into the points. So Sainz managed to get up into the points in a McLaren. Ricciardo, I'm guessing his tyres just wore off by the end of the race. They did. Ricciardo falls outside of the points. Disappointing once again from Renault. Renault just not up to it at all. Last season they had a strong car. This season they got a strong car. They just cannot put it together at all with that car. Where did Sergio Perez come? 15th place for Sergio Perez. But anyway, we're getting to the driver's standing. Fernando Alonso is now leading the Drivers' Championship, followed by Vettel and Gasly. Leclerc moves up, Norris is down, Hamilton's up as well into 6th place. And then we move on to the Constructors, a 20-point gap now back to us, to Ferrari, Red Bull in 3rd, Mercedes 4th, McLaren 5th, Renault lagging behind in 6th place with only 26 points this season. Alfa Romeo, decent point haul of 16, Aston Martin possibly a little bit disappointed with 16 points as well. Primo have got 7 points, Williams 3, and then Haas and AlphaTauri yet to pick up points this season. But that was a really good race for us. We came 3rd overall. Gasly, as usual, is improving a little bit. We've got 2.2 million coming out of the bank again. Lots of money coming out of the bank account. Look, this is why we don't often show the F2. As we see, Kimi Räikkönen is winning races a lot in Formula 2 for Dams at the moment. Callum Ilott is 54 points, a little bit behind him. Got Giuliano Lacey. Yeah, it's just basically here to keep a lot of the drivers around that might find their way into Formula 1. But yeah, it's not finished, the Formula 2 portion of this mod that I was working on. I don't know whether I'm going to build on it in future. I mean, I've got what I need out of it. So yeah, anyway, we'll accept the invitation for an interview from David Coulthard. Sebastian Vettel just missed out on the podium today, must have been devastated. We'll just answer that one, it keeps everyone happy. Pit crew review, Alonso wins in Black Sea. We've got the new engine coming for the next race, which is hopefully a decent step up. Hopefully it gets us above Ferrari, but I'm slightly worried that no one else has been upgrading between the last race and this race, which points me to believe that they are working on their engines again. But it should be a pretty substantial upgrade, our engine. So even if they've upgraded, we might still stay ahead of them or get ahead of them, as is in the case of Ferrari and Red Bull. But anyway, that is it for this episode. Another great race for us. We've got the Portuguese race coming up next time. But until that time, I'll see you down the road in Portugal for the Tondela Grand Prix. But until then, goodbye.